What's up guys, Howdish here, and today we're jumping in with a bunch of updates and news for Destiny 2. And in this one, Bungie have plenty to say about bugs, issues in the game, and fixes that we'll be seeing in the near future. So it looks like there might be a couple of updates in December, but they're also outlining changes and fixes for New Year, so we'll touch on some of that stuff. They clarify how a few things are working with some of the episode content, and we'll talk about a pretty fun and busted weapon in some activity content right now. Additionally though, Bungie talk about RNG issues in Destiny 2 and learnings and fixes that they can apply to some of those in the future. So as always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, a rating below really helps us on the channel, but now let's get into it. And so first up, a bunch of updates from Bungie here. DMG said, we've got the final few TWIDS of 2024 incoming, and he indicates as well, 2025 is shaping up to be an interesting year. Of course, that's when we'll see plenty of content format changes for the game. In terms of the next couple of TWIDS though, we know that Bungie will talk about the Dawning this Thursday. Beyond that, they'll probably highlight some of the updates that we'll get in December, and potentially talk about yet to be revealed events like the Firecracker or Bento Token event that we've spoken about recently. I'll link a video about that down below. But they may even give some highlights and heads up regarding Act 3 of the episode, given that they'll actually be out of the studio largely when that goes live, so there'll be plenty of conversation in the weeks to come. Separately though, after a lot of discussion in the community about tonics, Bungie did say they've identified an issue where Tomb of Elders tonics are not increasing chances for specific weapons as expected. But they further updated now and said the team has identified the issue impacting tonics, and they're looking to issue a fix this week, so hopefully in the days to come, this one will finally be fixed. On top of that though, they've clarified that issues preventing specific characters from being able to craft tonics are expected to be resolved next Tuesday with update 8151. And until then, it's recommended that players encountering the issue should craft tonics on an alternate character. So a couple of fixes coming in the next few days. And the tonics issue is another one that was brought to Bungie's attention by the community. Lots of players on Reddit pointed out that things don't seem to be working out as intended. And specifically, certain tonics handing out the wrong weapons. So the SMG tonic handing out the hand cannon tonic appearing to hand out the Scavenger's Fate, and the Scavenger's Fate tonic appearing to give Bittersweet. So it seems like they may have been mistitled or something like that. Maybe worth keeping in mind if you're using tonics to target certain rewards. Other updates though include, firstly, DMG said they have heard feedback that Iron Banner weapons appear to be pretty expensive at 25,000 Glimmer, although it points out Glimmer Finders on Ghost Shells and Glimmer Tonics may indeed help on that front. At least hopefully the Glimmer Tonic is working correctly. And on a separate note for the Iron Banner this week, they say the Tribute mode was accidentally enabled along with Control earlier today, so they've disabled Tribute, and the change will populate into the game to allow only Iron Banner Control to be the featured mode for the remainder of the event. So Iron Banner's going to stick with Control at least this time around. Otherwise though, players have been complaining about the Pale Heart and getting error codes when trying to play Overthrow. DMG said they'll look into that bug, but it appears to be a hard bug to fix, and for the moment they highly recommend re-queuing after a completion to reduce error chances. So another one on Bungie's list there, but otherwise they have said they're slowly looking for more avenues to communicate with players via social media and other platforms, to give us all as many different ways to view content updates from Bungie and get that information without having to search all over the place for it, so hopefully we'll hear more on that soon. Otherwise, while Bungie confirmed this week that the issue affecting the Hunter's Tether in Vesper's Host will probably be fixed in mid-January, they previously hoped to get it in before that, but it's taken longer than expected, and players anticipate that this has a lot to do with the Ranix Unified encounter, which already does some pretty funky stuff. As my friend Duddits pointed out the other day, if you've got a perfect fifth caster frame ergo sum, because there are multiple bosses in this encounter, it's really easy to chain ignitions by using this weapon. And because that damage is hitting bosses, it actually returns super energy at a pretty ridiculous rate, as you can see. So something to maybe try out in this encounter, but nonetheless, I feel like having so many targets which are classed as bosses in this encounter has certainly been one of the reasons that there are so many issues in this dungeon in particular, but I guess that is a bit of a side note. Either way, Tether fix coming in January. However, they've otherwise recently said they're aware of issues with Celestial Nighthawk benefiting from the recent increase in super energy gains meant only for roaming supers. That's intended to be fixed this month. The other issue where Sentinel Shield's super melee attack is doing more damage than intended should also get a fix in December. And we should see some updates to Raiju's harness in this time as well. So at least a few updates, which will hopefully be dropping this month as Bungie have suggested. One final thing to mention here though, Bungie did post a deep dive article into the recent perk RNG issue that we saw, and some highlights from that. They said that the issue appeared to be most egregious on weapons with 6 perks per column, and some other similarly desirable weapons over the years have had more or fewer perks than this, masking the impact of the issue to a degree, which is a confirmation that that bug in particular was a long-running issue with the game. But they added that the bug was heavily mitigated by perk columns with multiple choices. Adept weapons and playlist weapons have access to multiple perks per column, and players could earn more perks per column on Vanguard, Crucible and Gambit weapons via reputation. Plus they highlight that it was largely irrelevant on craftable weapons, which is why it wasn't always immediately obvious that that bug actually existed, but it was more obvious on particular weapons that had fewer perks that could potentially roll, which is interesting. They also had said that this was a very similar bug to one that happened when Whisper of the Worm launched, or the mission for it, where players struggled to get the Taken Blight public event to actually appear, and basically that same RNG issue applied directly to that event. So Bungie had encountered it before, but ultimately the error in the code that was causing that problem to occur in the game has since been fixed. And they say, we plan on doing multiple audits over areas of the codebase soon to watch for any similar issues. And these learnings should empower us to prevent this from happening again, or at the very least help us do better spot checking from time to time to ensure the bug doesn't resurface. So there were a few interesting insights in that article, but if you want to read it up in full, I'll link that down below as well. One final mention right here though, and Bungie shared that the entire classic Marathon trilogy has been fully updated for iOS with high FPS support, PC, Mac, Linux, Steam, and mobile crossplay, and more. And they say thanks to the incredible Marathon community for your support, as I believe this is largely a community developed project, so pretty cool that they've been able to do that. And if you want some nostalgia, or to experience any of those for the first time, I'll link that down below so you can check it out. For today guys, that is what we have to speak about in the video though, so as always, I hope you found this one interesting. If you have, a rating below really helps us out on the channel. Also be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, cheers for tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you guys have an awesome day.
Strength to guide the scattered through a time of doubt and wrath. But it sees now how Fikrul wields its power. False life for an army of the slain, with those like Skolas for his pawns. The Echo seeks another wielder. It demands one who is worthy.